Okay, well, let's get going. So thank you everyone for joining. Excited to see everyone today and see all the participants. Nice crowd. Good to see. So today we're going to be talking about managing traffic signal networks with TrafficLink. This is part of our reoccurring training series. So if you're not familiar with the training program, we rotate through 3 different topics once a month. So the first topic is detection in counts. Second topic is signal management, and third topic is traffic optimization. And we rotate between the 3 topics every month so that we generally cross all topics over time and make sure all of our users have access to training and access to content to make sure that everybody's taking full advantage of the platform. If this is the first time you're hearing from me or you're hearing about me, my name is Brent Rogerson. I'm an ITS sales engineer at Myovision. I've been with Myovision for some time now and have spent lots of time developing and building our products. And so I'm happy to show you around the platform and really see if I can deliver some value along the way. Many of you I may work with on an ongoing basis because I am part of a territory that I work in. I have 2 other counterparts that you may hear of, Joel Quigley and Thomas Mania. And so there's 3 of us that are going around really training our users, making sure everyone's taking full advantage of the platform. So today, we're going to get into, as I said, traffic signal management, a little bit of a packed agenda, but we will keep it short to about 50 minutes to leave some time at the end. But today we're going to cover quite a bit of things, actually. There's been lots of updates in the last few months on the map, on little hidden tricks and tools, some just general platform use that you may or may not know exists today that are helpful little tools along the way and really allow you to take advantage of the power of managing your signals remotely. And so I'm going to take you through some of this agenda more in the platform, so I'm not going to spend so much time in these slides. I find slides don't really do justice, so I'll jump over to the platform and we'll run through this content there. So quite a bit to unpack, but hopefully show you some cool things along the way. So as I mentioned, lots of things. If you have questions, you want more, feel free to chat in the chat box of the webinar along the way. You can feel free to wait till the end and I'll try to answer as many of them as I can in the end. You can email us, support@myovision.com, or contact me, the sales team, your local distributor. We're all happy to help set up one-on-one sessions and really make sure you can take advantage of the platform. So let's jump over to the platform and get into it. So I think I'm sharing my screen okay here. All right, so I wanted to kind of work through this agenda in the platform. So we're going to cover things about user management, the admin tools for the administrators that may be on the call to see what they have visibility, and obviously the new map UI if you've logged in recently. There's a little handy trick with custom IDs and tags I'm going to cover, our alerts, intersection view, video monitoring, cell usage, and video quality management is a new one that I'm going to try and uncover, and then just some of the general devices and corridors that we have available in the platform. So I'm going to take a little bit of a tour of the account here and show you each one of those things. So when I first log in, we'll get to the map UI in a second. I wanted to hit the users first, and I'll take you through what the UI is really showing here as well. But to start, when you first log in, user management is such a big part of this, and I always want to make sure that everybody's taking full advantage of the components, their alerts, the things that they could do with just their general user profile. So making sure that you're set up to get your alerts, and we'll unpack what each one of these things are over the session here. But when you log in, double check your settings if you haven't in a long time. Set up what alerts you may want for signal operation items. So that would be things like your intersection's gone into flash, its power loss, threshold, and when we get to the intersection view, you'll see some of that get connected. If you have device alerts set up, so in the scenario, if there's a device failure or if there is a device unconnected, say you've lost communications with your controller, whatever it may be, you can get an alert saying that something has stopped when it wasn't stopped before. So having your alerts more tailored to what you would like to see and what you would like to do with the platform would be key. You may not care about alerts, that may be for another group. So free to decide, set up email, text message, whatever you want. Maybe you only care about it during the day. And so you only want messages between 9 and 5 as an example. But what I wanted to show down here at the bottom is tags. And so tags I'm going to unpack a little bit as I go, but one of the concepts on a user is this concept of tags. What you can do is create an intersection tag and a user tag. So what that means is that you can add a specific profile to an intersection, call it like an intersection ID or a district or whatever it may be, and say district 1, this person should only get alerts about district 1. And then you can set it up so that intersections in that grouping would only get messages about that. And I'll show you that again at the intersection level in a second, but we'll come back to that. So just keep that in mind that there's this tag part at the bottom here that I find really helpful. When it comes to user permissions, there is 4 general things, and the administrator one is the one I'm going to talk about here in a second. That is more of the new updates. But you can either be an administrator. An administrator is allowed to read, write, they can change things, they can add devices, they can add other users. They have full control over the whole platform. Read, write is they have full control over everything in their account, but they can't add any more users or remove other users. View only with video, you can go in and you can view everything, including the video, or just view only, which doesn't include the video. So you want to make sure that you yourself, and if you're an administrator, all of the users in your account are properly permissioned so that they're accessing the things that they're supposed to access and it's working the way that you intend it to work. So make sure you double check that if you get a chance. Add users that you think are missing, delete users that maybe don't use it. And I'd be happy also to help you clean up your users if you want. But if you are an administrator, we have up in the top right, so if you click on the top right, there's this concept of admin settings. So if you go to the admin settings, there's a few things here now that an administrator can get access to. So the first one is actually an addition to our detection piece called the roadside configuration. We have recently launched a level of support to do roadside configuration of our devices, for the traffic detection side. So if you're familiar with our traffic detection device, the SmartSense, it has historically been only cloud-based in the sense that you have to configure from your laptop and you have to configure through a cloud connection. That is not 100% true anymore. There is an aspect of it that is locally managed. You can connect to it, you can stream video, and you can get a level of iteration directly on the device. So this could be for your technicians out there that may just want to plug into the device and do it locally while on site. If you already have existing fiber lines and you're not using cell, you can take advantage of some of these features. They're not fully completed yet. It's something we're rolling out over throughout this year. So that's why you may not have heard about it yet. But in the admin settings, you can actually set a local password on the device now. So this is a password that's not based on your user permission level in the platform. This is a password that you can set on the device locally. So if someone were to attempt to access the device locally to either see the stream or the configuration, they need a password to get into it. And so the administrators get to control what that password is. There is only one password. All the devices will have the same password, but this is where it gets controlled. So stay tuned for more about the roadside configuration tools in a future session as they get completed and roll out. But if you're an admin, you would see this if you log in. The next one down is the support access. So this is a feature that I like to mention is there. You don't have to use it. In fact, I can support you way better if you don't, in the sense that we can help you with configurations, we can help you with changes, and we can get involved to make sure you're properly supported. However, we recognize that security and control are super important. We don't want you to feel uncomfortable in any way that Miovision can go in and help support at any time. And if you feel like you want control over when Miovision goes in, you have this option to say Miovision support access is on or off. So this could be for scenarios where you're trying to significantly limit down the access to a device, including limiting Miovision. But if you're happy with our support and you're okay with our access to the devices or the access to the platform to make sure we can make sure it's fully configured and operating in the way that we intended to, you can take advantage of that and just leave it on. So that's a thing that you can use. I want to make sure everybody knows that exists. If say you call in with a support issue and you need something to resolve and this was turned off, I may have to ask you to turn it back on so I can jump in and go in and help you and really understand the problem. But that is an option and that is something in your control. The last one that we recently launched, and I'm going to show this in two parts, but the first part is video streaming and storage and the total usage of the video itself, or total usage of data, especially if we're on a cell connection. So the first part there, video streaming and storage. In the scenario where you want to globally disable or globally enable video recording and streaming, you have a simple toggle for that now. So say there's an event or a local scenario that you just say all video streaming off. I just need no one in the cloud to have access for it temporarily. You have control to remove all access to users to video streaming for whatever reason. But we feel like due to just general level of control of video and making sure people are generally comfortable with the access to video, we wanted to give you control to who has access to that and make it so that you could shut it off at any given moment if you choose to. Obviously, video is a very helpful tool for traffic operations and troubleshooting detection problems, but it is an option in the platform. Data usage. So this is something we're starting to pay attention a little bit more, as video streaming is one of our largest used features in our platform. It's a great tool. I love using it. Our users love using it. But data consumption on cell is a real thing. You don't pay by the gig like a traditional cell plan. You pay for just a connection, and we don't have overages or anything like that associated. However, we are monitoring this because we do want to make sure that we're not abusing the data connection and make sure that we're staying within normal. And so generally we allocate about 2 gigabytes per month per intersection. So if you have 30 intersections, you'd have 60 gigs per month to leverage. Obviously, there's no blockages on that. So if you do go over, your video won't be shut down or your connection won't be shut down in any way. But this gives you a way to just monitor who is using it. This becomes actually most handy if, say, you're giving external access to, say, public safety departments or police departments, and they're starting to take advantage of the video. And you really want to make sure that they're not abusing the connection because it is over cell. Obviously, this is not really a thing if you're using fiber lines, but or radios or whatever it may be. But it's something that we're starting to monitor because it is important. It's very rare for someone to overuse this, and you'll see this in a second. But it is something that we think administrators should be monitoring. We're going to come back to video streaming and storage in a second when we get to the video side. But really, that's a handy admin set of features that we've recently added to make sure administrators have a little bit more control of their platform and they can decide what's going on. All right, so let's jump over to the map view. So now that you're a user and you're all set up and everybody's getting involved, let's look at the new map view. If anybody's been in the platform recently, you would have noticed this. You would have noticed the change in the platform where the UI has gotten a little bit easier to use. It's been divided into 2 views. One is called our installations, or our view of our network. We often heard from our customers that seeing the alerts and the deployments and everything all at the same time was kind of a messy map to look at. Not everyone really wanted to show it up on their screens because it always had problems, or it always had an alert that was persistent for probably a good reason. Or not, it was just always there, but you didn't always want to show those things. So originally we tried to give you the filters to remove them, but we decided it's just easier to separate the 2 concepts. So when you log in, you get a view of your deployment. If you look here on the left, you can see there's a general summary. We have 37 devices here, 37 cameras, and 37 smart senses. I can also filter that a little bit into what installations I have. So if I wanted to say, show me just the SmartLink locations and apply, probably going to remove them all. I can remove that filter and go back. So it gives me better ways to slice up my network. So I can say, give me all of my SmartSense devices in a way that I can go back and maybe I want to add SmartSenses to locations, or I want to complete my network. This gives me a better view. In the future, we're thinking about how could we add other map attributes, like where are all my controllers of a certain type, or where are all my I don't know what's another example, where all my connected MMUs versus not. So basically any map attribute can continuously be added to this layer, so you can do more map-based things on the platform. So that's just looking at the general deployment map, and you can see along the left, I have a little bit better access in a list where I can click on any one of the intersections and it'll take me to the intersection directly. So if I know what I'm looking for, I don't need to search up in the top bar anymore, like, which is still there. You can still search at the top bar, but having it on the map view on the left, I find a little bit more helpful. The second page here, so there's installation and then there's active alerts. And so here it actually only shows you the intersections with active alerts. It doesn't show you everything mixed in between. So you can pull like a page, or you can take a snapshot of the map and say, go to all these locations that have alerts. It is also broken down into two different concepts. One are called critical alerts. The other ones are just other alerts. They're problems, but not critical problems in the sense that a safety is now in question. And so a critical alert we call power loss, flashing lights, a device is unavailable, or telemetry is unavailable. These are the type of alerts that are directly impacting the driver experience or directly impacting your connection to the intersection or your control of the intersection with detection. So if you get a critical alert, these are the ones that you would likely want to respond to immediately, because we want to make sure that these are cleared quickly. The other alerts are more around ongoing operational things, like a detector problem is stuck on, maybe a loop has degraded in the ground, maybe batteries are on, which is important, especially if battery is getting low. But generally, you haven't got to a critical state yet. If a battery were to go out, it would graduate to a critical alert of like power loss. So you'd see a progression of battery in use to battery low to power loss. And then you can see it go from just a normal alert to a critical alert in that process. As well as like things like during configuration around IP conflicts. So if you plug in a new device to your network and it's a shared network with the city infrastructure, you want to know if you're conflicting with another device, because then you'll get your connection will be kind of random at best, and you'll get some data but not all the data. And so having visibility into what are my detectors doing, what are my preemptions working, are my batteries on, and is my network having problems, all available through these alerts, and you can easily see them on a map now about where are the problems and how do I dispatch a technician to go and solve those problems. So it gives you a little bit more handy control, a little bit more visibility into it, and you can see them more on a map. What I like to do, if over time you're starting to see reoccurring alerts here, or originally you had 10 and then you dispatch technicians or whoever it may be, and you slowly see the alerts list reduce, it's almost like a daily activity to make sure we're reducing the number of alerts. Obviously, critical alerts are way more important than other alerts. However, they're both valuable in the sense that they're likely driving a real problem that could be addressed in some way or another. So that's the biggest change that we did on the map view, which allows you just to see the platform, see your network, and see where the problems are in a much better visibility way as well. We also like to present the platform to others, and we don't want it so cluttery that it's hard to show others, because you want to be proud of it. So this gives you that control as well. So cycling back a little bit to the concept of data usage and in video. So I talked a little bit about that usage, but what we have the ability to do now is actually two things. So right before I get to the intersection level, so actually, sorry, let's get to the intersection level first, and then I'll come back to my point. But when we're at an intersection here, some of these are more of the obvious points. We have visibility into the telemetry of the intersection. So when you click on an intersection, you can see the signal status, you can see the detector channels, and you can see everything that's occurring at this intersection, and you have all of the historical views to do it as well. If I go over to the video tab, this is where we have the ability to see two different things, the 360 video and the detection video. So we have both ways to view it and both things to look at. A couple handy tools, if you haven't seen these before, there is a pan, tilt, pan, rotate, zoom type feature. Obviously it's a virtual version, so it's just moving our screen around, but you can zoom in. You can observe a little bit better what may be going on in your screen, and this is user specific. So if I went in and If I'm doing this right now, another user could be in here looking at a different angle on a different view at the same time. But the thing I wanted to highlight here is the quality of the video. So circling back to the data usage and the video quality controls that we have now, while you're doing observational things, we purposefully keep our video quality lower. And the reason for that is obvious, that we have cell. We want to keep the data consumption lower. However, we do have some data at every intersection. We do have 2 gigs per intersection or 1 gig per intersection, depending on your plan. But what that means is that we do have some flexibility to toggle the video quality a little bit. And we wanted to make sure, especially for customers that had fiber lines or they had existing communications like radios or whatever it may be, that they can take advantage of higher quality without the restrictions of a cell connection. So that when you're doing observational things like this and you're panning around and you're trying to observe some things, you do have the control over this video quality. And where this comes in, so if I go back to my network, and I click on the video tab at a network level. So if you couldn't tell there, I was at the network context and I clicked on the video icon. It actually pulls up all of the video locations that I have in the network and their data usage. So I can see that this intersection this month has used 269 megabytes so far. And you can see it's fairly consistent. This is a combination of the data it's transferring and the video. So very consistent usage across all of them. If say one of them had a high usage, and it was overly used, you would see that one would be bubbling up higher. But because we use the share plan style, it doesn't really matter if you overuse at one intersection, if the overall use of data is still within your limits. So that's one way to monitor it, is you can go in and see every individual intersection. But you also have this concept of video resolution. And so what we can do now is view 2 different options in video resolution. We have 640 by 640 or 1280 by 1280. And so we call that our high res video. And so this right here is, they're all listed at 640, but they can be now toggled up to 1280 by 1280 as well. And so that is being enabled a little bit slowly, 1 account at a time, but it can be toggled up. And then you would see this jump to 1280 by 1280. If you wanted this across your network and you do have a fiber line, we could jump them all to 1280 by 1280, or you could just choose select ones and let us know, and we can help you up the quality. You'll notice that I don't have a button here. That's because this feature is somewhat limited by the administrator, in the sense that we don't want every user to be able to go out there and change quality. We want to make sure that the administrator is controlling the quality. So if you need to up the resolution, or you want to explore that, please let us know, and we'd be happy to help you set that all up to make sure that the administrator is in control of that. So we now have that ability, and we're helping you monitor that usage so that you can take advantage of the full data plan that you have. You can get a little bit better video out of it if you're doing specific analysis, and you don't necessarily feel like you're not able to check on how much am I using, because those dots are very important to connect and to make sure that it's being monitored in a way that's being done responsibly. All right, so let me go back there a bit. So we quickly covered user management there, the new map view here. We covered some of the increases on video quality management and data usage, because those are items that are going to become very important over time, and we're going to keep touching on those in future sessions, as well as people start taking advantage of them. Again, they just recently released, so if you're not familiar with them in your account, I would suggest you go check it out and see what you can find there. So let me click on an intersection, and we'll go back to the map view, because I covered that really quickly and I want to make sure I hit on it again. So at every intersection, we have the signal telemetry, the detector telemetry. We can see everything that's happening. Often the detectors are coming from the MyOvision SmartSense. That makes it super easy to use and explore. You have all of the historical telemetry. On your calendar here at the bottom, you can choose any date in the past, and you can really see what data and when you want to actually look at it. So you have some controls there. You can look at historical and whatnot. You can go through and see approach view, timing diagrams, and really see what your intersection is doing at any given time. So this gives you lots of visibility. Obviously, you have the video here as well. So we looked at the 360 view, but keep in mind there's also the video recording option. Of course, I chose an intersection that didn't have the recording on. If I jump over to a different tab, I think it's on. And so over here, when we have that live video, we also have the recorded video. Again, fully in your control if you want to take advantage of this. You can shut it off across the board, like I was saying, if you don't like the idea of video. But for the customers that do want to take advantage of the video, we do have both live video and video recording. The video recording actually occurs locally on the device, so that doesn't mean we're streaming up to the cloud. So I was talking about data usage before, that doesn't change with video recording. Video recording is local on the device. It stores up to about 7 days locally. So if I were to say, I want to go look at video on the 2nd, I can because it's within that window. But if I go back, oh, if I click on, oh, I don't have any days backwards. That's why. I have about 7, almost 8 days here of video back to February 1st that I could go back and check on. Everything after that no longer exists. So I have about a 7-day window before I don't have access to that video, so I can go back and understand what was wrong with my detectors, or when a citizen called in with a complaint, what was really happening, and I want to really assess that situation. So to actually do that, there's a little bit of a process. There's 2 different video streams. The first one is the 360 view. So if you just want the video recording of that 360 view and look at the entire frame, you certainly can. You just click, I want the 360 standard, and then I want to recall that. What recall means is it uploads it from the device. So it goes from the SmartLink up to the cloud, so I can watch it in the cloud. This is me uploading it from the field because it's storing locally. Once I have it in the cloud, you can keep it in your platform under the recalled videos tab for as long as you want, and all of the historical video will exist there. You can delete it, you can download it, then delete it, whatever you want to do. It's a handy feature to use. If you just leave it there, it'll store indefinitely, so we don't have a cutoff time for our video storage in any way, so that you can take advantage of that video for months to come if you want, once you have uploaded it, or go through and delete ones that you don't care about anymore. I go back to the video recording tab. Similar for the detection view. So if you're assessing a detection problem, or you're assessing a scenario that somebody called in about, you can pull the detection video itself as well and review it as well. I often use the detection overlay most of the time because I'm assessing a detection problem or a particular complaint, and I want to see, was it the time of day? Was there an issue at nighttime? Was it weather related? Was a person even parking in the zone that they claim to be parking in? Whatever it may be, I want to be able to assess that situation and make the improvement to the intersection if I need to. Doesn't mean I necessarily will, but I definitely want the option to assess the video in the scenario to improve the overall operation. So that's the video management side and the overlay of video and standard video. So we have both those options, and take advantage of them all you want. Monitor your video usage so that you don't consume all of the data, but you certainly have lots of wiggle room on the data side. So certainly take advantage of it and keep track of it so that you're taking full advantage of the data allotment there. So let me go back. Next is, I think next on my list. So the new one that we actually released just recently is custom IDs and tags. And so coming back to that point about the user tags that I mentioned earlier about adding a tag to a user, that really works at an intersection level. And there's 2 things to think about here where, say I wanted to take this intersection. If I go to my configuration tab down here at the bottom, this has all of the configuration that we do at an intersection level for that signal that you're seeing on the telemetry view, the intersection map that was on the right, how do we draw the zones. All of those features can be found here, and you can edit them and relabel them in any way you want. Up at the top right here, there's this intersection details option that allows you to even rename the intersection. You can add an ID, you can add a tag, you can determine, do I want alerts from this intersection or not? Or I can just simply write notes about this. and save it to the intersection. Say it's an intersection under construction, and you can say this intersection is under construction, so I shut off alerts for now because it's going to be going on and off constantly. I don't want to get messages about it while there's construction going on. But the ID and the tag are two important pieces. And so I'll talk about the custom ID here. And what you can do with this ID, often I see users take advantage of this ID by relating it to the intersection number or the intersection ID that the city or agency is already using. So if you're doing an asset management tool or you're using any way to do signal numbering, often I hear about intersection 123 or intersection whatever the number is how many agencies relate to their intersections. And so if you wanted to go through and add an ID to an intersection, like call this one 123, I can simply update that with intersection 123. Now this has that ID, so I can use that in a couple ways. One that's super helpful is through our API. If you're pulling data and you don't want to necessarily use a complex intersection ID that you see up here in my browser, but if you want to just make a simple number, a simple ID, you can certainly do that. And then when I go back to the map view here, I can actually search in the top bar. So if I can do 123, my intersection that I just tagged as 123 pops up here at the top. This allows me, if I think about it in terms of numbering, I know what intersection 123 is. I could just add that ID to the intersection and type in 123, and it will give me my intersection that I'm looking for. So that's a feature that you can take advantage of if you're if you're using a numbering scheme for your intersections in general. So it's a handy little tool. I know in many cities I work with, often every intersection has a number mainly for asset management. And often I see the numbers in the timing plan. So intersection 123, timing plan here and that. So everything is related to that number. And if you want to take advantage of that, you can as well. So I just go back to that screen again. Intersection ID here, or a custom ID 123, we can simply add that in. The other is tags, and you can do the exact same thing here and say this is tag 321, so that this intersection is tagged more specifically. Oh, of course, it's not actually set up to do that, but essentially it's the same concept. You can set it up as 123. And you can make sure that it has an intersection tag associated with it. So if I wanted to add, if I go back to my users here, is it the same concept? What did I say, 321? So we'll add a tag for 321. And then if I go back here, oops, there we go. Yeah, so then it adds, so that user specifically cares about intersection 321, and it pops up as a tag here now that that user cares about it. So that user can get it set up so that that tag only, this intersection is the only intersection that person cares about, and I can update it as such. Similarly on the map over here, if I do 321 or 123, I can find both of them. So depending on the context as me as a user, either I'm an asset management side and I'm looking for my intersection ID to understand the components at that, or I'm a district owner and I'm District 1 and I only want to know about District 231. I can certainly separate those out in a way that I can simply search for the way I care about it at the top bar based on my tags, or I can just go through my list along here on the left. I have seen many users actually change the name of the intersections as well to include that intersection ID, so that you have some sort of symmetry and consistency between the IDs and how you can take advantage of actually using those in the platform. But those are handy little tools that many can take advantage of now. So the last feature set I'm going to talk about for the next few minutes before I'll open it up to questions is more around the device pages. And I want to show a few things here, and then I'm going to jump over to a demo cabinet, so I'm not really touching anything that I shouldn't be. And so there is a couple, let's let this load up. On the device side, this is where we list all of the assets that we are connected with. And that can range from a controller. So what controller are we connected to? Where are the devices that are there? And what are the serial numbers? Often when we're doing asset management type applications, we care about the serial numbers. Everything has a serial number, and it's that's how we track everything. We track warranty dates, we track everything that's connected that way, and often our alerts that we see often come from a specific ID because that helps us get to troubleshooting. But beyond the MyOvision devices, it allows us to connect things like traffic controllers or conflict monitors or whatever it may be. And so I'm going to jump over to a demo cabinet that I have set up just so that I can show you some of these features in a cabinet that's in my office, wherever the office is these days. It's not that I've been allowed out of my home office for a while, but back in my office, I have a demo cabinet set up that I can play around with. And so if I go to the device pages here, we can actually connect right into those controllers, and we can really take advantage of the connections to these devices. So the first one is the controller. So here I can go over to the far right. Every controller handles the connection to the devices slightly different. So we often refer to this as remote access to devices. So not only are we presenting all these applications in our platform through the telemetry page, through the video, everything that we use in terms of our tools are presented in the platform. But if you're actually more comfortable just going to check your traffic controller or check your conflict monitor all through the platform as well, you can do that directly on a device level and not necessarily in our platform. And we refer to this as remote access. So first one, like I said, was the controller. If I go over to the right here, I have the concept of connect or edit. Let me go to edit first. So this controller is an M60. It could be Econolite, it could be Intolite, whatever controller type you're using. How am I connected to that controller? In this case, I am actually connected over SDLC because I'm doing detection here. But I also have an Ethernet connection to the traffic controller. And in a Siemens world, they call this Telnet. It's a much older style of connecting to a traffic controller, but it works just the same. It allows you to pull up the screen directly into TrafficLink and allows you to play around with the screen in the UI. I'll show you in a second. Other platforms like Intolite, they use a web page. So we have this tool called the Remote Access Client that allows you to open up the web apps of the devices that are out there and open it up in a separate browser so that you can take advantage of, say, the McCain or Intolite web applications that are on their controllers, that are hosted on their controllers, and open that up in a separate browser, utilizing and leveraging the connection that the SmartLink provides. That way, what the Remote Access Client essentially does is creates the security of the connection from your machine that you're on, meaning your computer, all the way out to that device in a very secure way. And we need a Remote Access Client to allow for their web apps to be opened up in the platform. And so we use a client to do that. You may be prompted to download the Remote Access Client to your computer, and then it'll simply open up once you have authenticated yourself through your TrafficLink platform. So all of the security is managed for you through your platform and through your user login, so that you don't really have to think about the security. We've taken that off your plate, and we can manage that for you. So in this case, it's Telnet, but it can certainly be others. Econolite uses Remote Panel. Remote Panel is something that they've essentially helped us with, where we can just pull it up directly in our platform as a Remote Panel app. So we don't need to be in a separate web page or a separate view like Telnet. We can just pull up the front panel because that's an app that they host. So depending on the controller types you have, you'll see different options here. What if I just close this out and then I connect to it? So the other option there was connect. It does just pull up my controller screen. And because this is an M60, it's Linux based, so you have to actually log into the controller. So having another layer of security here as well to make sure that the controller is managed as well as the platform access. That's a handy tool to have, is to make sure everything's logged in. So make sure that if that's a feature that you want to take advantage of and you want to access your controller remote panels to essentially view or make changes, you're certainly allowed to do that. Let me know if you need help setting those things up. The last one here that I've been using a lot lately, especially on understanding flash alerts or intersection operational alerts that tend to occur over time, and everybody being remote now in their home offices or through the pandemic, I've been noticing a big uptick on customers taking advantage of the conflict monitor access to understand a problem. So there's two different views on here, and depending on your conflict monitor, you could either connect it over serial or you can connect it over Ethernet. So you have both options. And so in this case, we're actually connected over a serial because it's an older monitor, I guess, but it can certainly be set up over Ethernet if we wanted to. So I have two options. First is view live status. What this gives me is the live voltages off of every channel, so I can see generally what's going on, and it's live. I don't know if it's gonna turn on me here, but it's just basically monitoring those voltages in a way. There it goes, so that you can see that live. Obviously, this isn't giving you any error codes or alert codes or anything like that. It's certainly just giving you the high level view of voltages. But what I find actually pretty handy, I'm not actually sure if there'll be any logs on this one because it's my lab device, but I do mess around with it a bunch, so maybe. I can actually pull in the whole log file from the conflict monitor. Oh yeah, there we go. And so this is the full logs that are recorded onto the conflict monitors itself. EDI has this information available so that we can easily pull it into the platform and review any fault or any conflict that has occurred. So as of Monday, we had a red fail fault occur. Back in November, we had a port 1 fail. Someone was messing around with the SDLC connection. But all of these are tracked and something that you can pull and pull from the conflict monitor to really assess what the problem may be at an intersection. And this becomes really handy when you're trying to understand, why did my intersection go into flash, or why is my intersection constantly going to flash? And I want to see the history of the reasons. Obviously, you can get this roadside when you get out to the intersection to assess the problem, but when you're running into question marks about scenarios, this is a good spot to start about why has it gone into flash twice, or it went into flash 3 or 4 times this week. Why is that occurring? And I can easily go in and assess that situation and dispatch accordingly. So that's a handy little tool to make sure that we're taking full advantage of the diagnostics and video that, or data that's coming out of even the peripheral devices aside from MyoVision. This can extend beyond even the controller and conflict monitor. Essentially, any device that you have at the cabinet can be connected in either through Ethernet or serial. And that's why we have those ports on our SmartLink device. So if you're familiar with our device, there's 4 Ethernet ports on the SmartLink and 4 serial ports on the SmartLink that you can connect in other devices. So I've seen examples like connecting in a preemption system so that you can pull up the diagnostic logs of a preemption system. I've seen battery systems like UPS systems, even third-party cameras we can use in the same scenario. So we have our MyoVision 360 camera, but if you did want to take advantage of another camera that's out there, you certainly can connect it in and pull it up in a remote access panel just the same. But again, keep an eye on that data usage, especially if you're oversell. But if you want to consolidate your data, if you want to consolidate all of your devices into a single view that you can access them and keep track of them at an intersection level, this platform gives you the ability to do that and really build up on it. Oh, I see a couple questions that maybe I'll just answer quickly since they look like they came in a few minutes ago. So back to the video. Oops, let me go to an intersection to answer your question here. So the first question was that I'm just going to quickly answer here. Where are the recalled videos recorded? And so the video, oh yeah, there's my cabinet. The videos are recorded to the SmartLink locally in the cabinet. So there is a 64 gigabyte hard drive that's local in the device that can record the video locally. Obviously, if you increase the video quality, the amount of video you can store is a little bit less, but you can record it locally to that 64 gig hard drive. There isn't an ability today that you can plug in an external drive to it, so you can't go up to it and plug in an external hard drive and record to that as of today, but you can upgrade the hard drive that's in there to a 512 gigabyte. So you can go from 64 to 512 and you can increase the storage that way. And we can help you with that as well, but it is stored and recorded directly to the SmartLink in the intersection. Next question here. Does the intersection ID allow for letters or numbers only? It does both, as far as I know. Yeah, so it'll do letters and numbers on the intersection ID so that you can call it essentially whatever you want. It doesn't really matter to Myovision what you call it. You can use letters or numbers in any way. It'll come through on the API, or you can search it in the same way through the letters or numbers. Can an admin view history of other users' activity, last time they logged in, how long they... So I have a question here about admins viewing the activity of other users. Unfortunately, that is not presented in the platform today. That is something that we are tracking for security purposes. So in the sense that we do track when a user has logged in and what they do in there through what we call interactions, interaction events, which can easily be flipped to user analytics for our users in the future. We just started making that actionable, making that more visible to ourselves so far, because we've been tracking it kind of in the background more so for the security access and control side of things. And now we've only started been taking advantage of that for user management and making sure users are actually taking advantage of the platform. The next step is to then flip that to admins so that the admins can also see what their team is doing. So not quite yet, but it's making its way into the platform shortly. So I was back at the devices here. I think that covers most things I wanted to talk about. The last thing I just want to highlight that not many people actually know about, but it's not fully related to signal management, but it's a thing that comes up enough that I'm not sure everybody is fully aware of it as a thing. So I'll just go over here to show it. It's called our corridor tools. If anybody has a corridor in their network or in their platform, there is a corridor concept that we have where we actually link them together and we connect them on through in a way that you can view them. And so to first see your corridor, if you click up here in the top, there is an option to see individual corridors that are configured. So here we have the Thompson Road corridor. If I click on that, it brings up all 5 intersections along that corridor in a way that I can see. I can add more to this since there's more along the corridor since this was configured. But you can essentially add this. It gives you actually, based on the travel time information that we're already collecting, this does give you relative speed. Are they going faster or slower? But the thing that not many people actually know about is if you go down to the dashboard, there is a view of corridor performance that allows you to get more of a live view of a corridor's travel time and space mean speed for both directions. So this gives you the ability to see essentially what is happening along this corridor at any given time, and you can simply toggle through them all and use this somewhat of a live dashboard of the operation. So not many people know that exists for some reason, so I want to make sure that I highlighted that today, that this is a view that you can get access to. It is encroaching into maybe some of the data side, but it is a view that many operational people look for on an ongoing basis. One more question I see popped in here. Are the cameras able to detect collisions? If yes, is there an alert for that? That's a great question. So there are a couple things in that point to unpack. If I go over to the detection view for a second, there's the first part of it is the safety application. So we often talk about pseudo safety metrics in the sense of leading up to collisions or leading up to that near miss type of analysis. So we can't actually do near miss quite just yet, but we are building towards, and we'll get into this a little bit more in the optimization type session next month. But really what we can do is 3 different things. One is what we call pedestrian compliance. And so that's these are the foundational layers of looking at detecting collisions, but we're not quite at collisions yet. But first is understanding like behaviors like where is a pedestrian in a crosswalk and are they crossing when they should be crossing? So we call that compliance because we're able to detect, are they in the crosswalk versus the signal state? Similar to that, we have what we call red light running. Red light running is also monitoring, is the car in the intersection when they should be or when they shouldn't be. So looking at the compliance of operations of this intersection, are cars using the intersection the way they should be? This is actually the foundational layer to really looking at near miss collisions and potentially getting to that point about doing detection alerts around collisions. So we have the foundational components, but not quite ability to do detection of collisions just yet, but the foundation is building towards that. Are signal view and approach view in the telemetry dashboard live? Yes, so I believe your question is referring to this. And so we have signal view and approach view. Both of these are live. And so there is a little bit of an asterisk on that sense of live. I would say because there's a cell connection in most cases, there is the latency consideration of cell. And so generally, I would say it's live to within 5 seconds, generally. I do see variations on that statement quite a bit in the sense that at some point in the day, it could be 8-10 seconds. At other point, it could be 2-3 seconds. But because it's a cell connection, there is a little bit of latency on it because of that. It gets obviously slightly improved when you're using a fiber connection because it's a little bit faster and a little bit more direct. But generally, I would say that both the signal view and approach view are close to live based on the limitations of latency. You can go back in time, so I don't have to look at it in a live sense. So if I go to just even earlier today, say I wanted to look at just like noon today, I can just click on 12 p.m. here, and it actually switches to the historical view, and I'm looking at 12, so about almost 2 hours ago now. So it does give me the historical view, and I can actually watch it play out in a historical sense, but it is not, it's a historical view, not a live view. If I want to jump back to live, I just jump back over and it becomes live again. That's a good question. There is a scenario that, so often I talk about we are connected over cell or we're connected over fiber, but you don't necessarily have to have a device of MyoVision's, or you don't necessarily have to have anything of ours in the cabinet. You could be leveraging us for software only. We only have a few customers doing this today, but what that option allows us to do is actually take advantage of the controller's ability to do ATSPMs, the high-res data logger files on the controllers. And when we do that type of approach and we're actually pulling in the data and the telemetry via the data logger, that's actually 5 minutes delayed. So if you're taking advantage of our platform via a software only scenario, so you already have communications, you already have devices in your cabinet, and you already have access to high-res data logger files, we have an API that allows you just to post those files into our platform and take advantage of everything you saw here based on the files that already exist without needing to take advantage of a device in the cabinet or maybe our detection necessarily. But that scenario is actually slightly delayed by 15 minutes just due to the nature of the data logger files. So there are a couple options and a lot of different ways to connect into the signals and get your data in any way you want. So that's let me just double check my little agenda here. I think I covered quite a bit of this. So just a quick recap, and then I'll wait to see if there's any more questions ending the hour here. So we covered some user management. So looking at what are all the users, how do we set up a user in alerts, what is my admin controls, what can I do to override it, and then how do I look at my intersection, how do I look at my view, how do I manage devices, and so on, how do I look through the new map. So there's quite a bit of tools that you have at your fingertips to manage your signals and manage your teams that are managing the signals. So please take advantage of it. Oh, I did see a couple questions rolling in right here. Is a camera control based on client request? What did you click on to have the camera rotate and zoom? I can rotate the camera view and zoom by clicking on the black control box located in the bottom right corner, but cannot use the mouse over the video to rotate the zoom. Oh, really? So if I go over to this video here, cannot use the mouse over the video. Oh, so once you click in, so like I can't click on it right now when I'm looking at the video, and clicking on it does nothing. I can move the labels. So if you want to reposition the labels, if they're in your way, you can easily just move those labels. But once you click in, so once I click the little arrow box down here at the bottom and I do zoom in once I zoom in once, I can pan around with my mouse and then use my scroll wheel to go in. So that way it doesn't just start moving on you all of a sudden. You have to actually engage with the little tool here on the right first. And once you engage with that tool, then you can just go over it with your mouse. That should work that way. So once you engage with it, then you can just use your mouse. And unfortunately, you can't really rotate. You have to actually click this here and rotate it here. And so you may have to be clicking it a bunch of times to get it to rotate. And then you can just reset it. One thing that we were thinking about is how do you lock it in place? So if you were to change the rotation and then lock it so that you want to look at it in a certain way instead of maybe your intersection's upside down for whatever reason, or you perceive it as upside down, then maybe we can think about locking it in a view, but currently that's not an option. If you're using software only, can you open the controller's web page? Yeah, so if you are using software only, that option is over the fiber line that you've already connected with. So the communications in that case is actually, when you're using the software only, you can actually use the controller just the same way over your connection and just open it up in our platform, because it's just the Ethernet connection giving you remote access to the front panel, and the communications is the mechanism that allows us to do that directly to the intersection. So there's a little bit of a networking configuration that needs to occur to allow for that, but it certainly works either in our platform, but if you already have communications, there's likely a chance that you have it in a different platform or a different web page that you can do the same thing. But yeah, if you're interested in that, we can certainly unpack that a little bit more, because that is definitely an option that we can do when the communications already exist. Can PTZ be used on recorded video? That's a good question. I believe it is. I've never actually tried though. Oops, recalled. Oh yeah, look at that. It is, so yeah, you definitely can use the same feature on the recorded video, because it is something that we do post-recording, and so that you can take advantage of it on any recorded video, maybe see it a little bit better, and take advantage of the visibility. So if you're looking at a specific scenario, you can certainly do that. Is Myovision working on flattening the live video stream? So this topic actually comes up quite a bit on the flattening of the video. It is something that we have to iterate towards. And so by iterating towards that, what I mean is we have this concept sorry, of the detection overlay, where we've divided it up into 5 different views, or 4 views, depending on your particular intersection. And so we've essentially done the work to allow us to change the views of this camera. But when you configure it, you have to actually select these views today. So our first iteration is to remove the concept of configuring views and allow us to configure on essentially anything on a full video screen. And you're not really differentiating a particular view. You're just looking at movements and you're looking at the screen, and we're kind of breaking down the barriers of what we're calling views here. The next step then is to flatten the video and to create some more manipulation on the actual view that we have and make sure that doesn't impact the way we do detection. So we're about 2-3 steps away from really being able to do the flattening properly, but we have built into the foundational aspects here to allow us to do that, where we're going to start with leveraging that by removing this concept of views and allow it to be a little bit more visibility all around. So not something that we're thinking about and something that's coming, but not fully baked yet. All right, we're at the top of the hour here, and there's a lot of really good questions. So thanks for participating. I'm going to end the session here, because we've covered quite a bit, and I thank you so much for participating. Look out for the next session that's coming up in about a month, and I'll be likely sending out a few messages. If you have any more questions about our platform, feel free to check out our help center, where there's training videos, help articles, and just general knowledge bases. Again, we have our video library at training.myovision.com. Please look for that. If you don't know that exists, please check it out. Feel free to also email me, call me, reach out to your seller, your partner, whatever it may be. Feel free to jump in and ask some questions. Over the next few weeks, we're going to have a few more releases in our platform. We love building on what we have today, so look out for some of those messages about what new has been added, and we'll circle back to some of those elements over time. So again, thank you so much for participating and joining the session today. Looking forward to seeing everybody in the platform. So thank you so much. Have a good day.